Welcome to MartechBrain, a NetCore initiative where we speak to the best brains in MarTech and delve deep into one topic. My guest today is Nduneche Ezurike, Endy for short. He's the Group Head, Strategic Brand Management and Communication at Polaris Bank Limited in Nigeria. His chosen topic for discussion today is employee marketing and analytics. This is about how medium and large organizations can essentially harness employee footprints to drive engagement and scale their bottom line. It's a fascinating topic. All of us have many employees. How can we increase their productivity and the organization's productivity is what we'll talk about today with Endy. Endy, welcome to MartechBrain.
Thank you very much, Rajesh. I am very, very pleased to be part of this. I have been opportune to see a couple of the things you've done. Great job. I'm happy that even at this age, you are waxing stronger. we are really pleased about the interventions you've made in the marketing technology space across, across the world. And it's my pleasure to be here. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you very much.
So really appreciate the time, Endy. So let me start with the first question. So what is really employee marketing, employee analytics, employee marketing? How do you explain it in simple language to people? This is the first time I was hearing the term. We all have employees, but employee marketing, employee analytics, what is that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Really, this is a subject I have had the opportunity of working on in the last 2 to 3 years. I've done quite some level of research in trying to position the employee as a consumer. My research has taken me to quite, diverse topics that are complementary to that. And what it's simply saying is that the employee is a customer. Most organizations, of course, we say it a lot. The employee is our greatest asset. The employee is our customer. But the level of investment we make, not only in terms of the basic motivation and basic hiring and all that, doesn't seem to respond to that. So with all the revolution that has taken place in the technology space, you could see that very little is done in trying to investigate and try to harness the footprints of the customer, of the employee in this sense. So applying analytics, analytics and the whole analytics and analysis in trying to understand the employee motivations, the employee touch points, the employee, what are the things you can do to build the connection with the employee, whether it is in terms of motivation, whether in terms of decision making, whether it is in terms of productivity. And again, secondly, how do you also get employee to be the real customer who can really patronize your products? Within this lockdown, I knew about a couple of companies who, I know particularly a company that is a B2C company that was, they were dealing with baby products. They deal in baby products. And they were, of course, the same issue of looking for customers, trying to scale your business and all that. And I had the opportunity of asking the chief marketing officer, have you looked at the data you have in-house to know the age bracket of the employees? Do you even know, is it possible that they actually are the big market you're not looking at because you're calling them employees? Can you look at them as a market? And it was shocking that the data simply showed that 62% of the employees were between the age bracket of about 25 to 35, 40 from the data he was able to. And it was clear that marketing to the employees was a big deal. So while they are looking at how to face the external customer out there was no intentional effort to ensure that the employee, is taken quite seriously as a market, not just to talk to external customers, but also to even get them to become committed customers. So what we see is that we use official protocols and compelling people to patronize the product, but do you really understand them and understand their emotional touch points? What are their emotional motivations that drive their own buying and selling? How much data do you have about the employees beyond their age, their gender, and all that? That's the kind of thing we are looking at. And a few efforts I have also been able to has shown me clearly that if the employee is taken seriously as a customer, not just as an employee, because he's also having a lot of the employee in your office is getting a lot of he's being targeted by a competitor. So sometimes, you just need to scale the level of engagement with the employee beyond the usual data of gender, sex, and age and all that. We need to look a lot more in a lot more diverse ways. That's basically what it is.
Great. So if I summarize it, basically there are two themes to what you're saying. And I think this is very, very interesting. The first one you're saying is that think of employees the way you think of your own customers. You need to think of employee engagement. You need to think of building deeper relationships with them, figure out what their thinking is, etc., so that you can serve them better. And if you serve them better, it makes for a more productive organization.
Absolutely.
And the second track is, which actually is fascinating, especially for B2C companies, is that your employees become the customers of your products and possibly also become champions of your product. Because if you don't target them, your competitors are going to target them.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
Great. I think these are two excellent themes. So let's start with the first one. How do you what is the information that you can get about your employees? So when you want to do analytics, you need data. How do you get that?
Clearly, like I said earlier, the data collection process has been quite analog and not be quite, it doesn't get into the insight, it doesn't give you insight. You have the basic things, but how do you harness data to address issues about employee engagement, decision making, HR management, and of course employee marketing, which is the big one. So what the point I am making is that I have what I call you have the primary data, you also have the social data, and you have the professional data, and of course the historical data. The primary data, usually the age, the gender, the hobbies, the ethnic groups in some part of the world, and then you also have the social data, things like the club membership, the color preference, the color of clothes you love, your social groups and social clubs, even your digital clouds as an employee. So employees are strong enough to be influencers, influencers of not just, some of them already social influencers. They're quite big on the social space. You need to understand, have all those data. You also need to understand, like I said, even the academic history. Have you analyzed the academic history so you can have an understanding of the alumni platform within your organization, the alumni network. What is your preferred food? Of course, as a teenager, where did you grow up? These are some of the historical data we think we should begin to look at, for the employee. Because when you have this, when you have the kind of data, I'll give you an example. You have a data that shows that most of your employees are in the middle sense age, middle sense in the middle age, the 40, where in some parts of the world, there's a thinking that if you're 40, 45, you're finished. But if you look at some data, you see that the middle sense is trying to recreate him or herself. It's a second coming for most professionals. They want to show you that whatever they did not do when they were 20 to 30, they have had their kids sometimes. They want to put a lot of energy into doing things. And the approach to projects can be quite exciting in terms of building collaboration. So these are the kind of data to be able to, that you require as an organization to be able to add a lot more value. But again, it's not about the data, it's about the insight to generate from this data. So I always advise organizations to, it's not just about customer decision journey, what of employee decision journey? What is your talent first strategy? What is your smart collaboration strategy? These are the kind of things that will enable you to get value from this kind of data and put it to work. Obviously, by the time you do the insight and the impact, you begin to see that you will appreciate knowing your employees a lot more than you think you do.
So Endy, this is, if I were to paraphrase this a little, differently, it's almost the same ideas that we apply when we as Netcore go and talk about smart tech to customers. So the ideas of a unified employee view, that's what you talked about in the beginning.
Absolutely, yes, great.
So instead of unified customer view, you have unified employee view. And then the same idea of a customer journey can also be applied to employees. We can create an employee journey.
Fantastic. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's also, like you said, I am one of your greatest fans, in terms of your product, how well you're able to understand that the customer is on a journey, not just customer touch points, but a customer journey, which speaks to the emotional. So, but the critical issue is that, Rajesh, I tell you, in my country, and it's part of the world, the employee conversation is not deep. I have worked with a lot of millennials. Millennials are looking for opportunity to discover themselves. They're not following your vision, but also want a partnership to discover themselves. So that's different from, follow me on this journey, I will show you the way. They already have their own vision of where they're going to. They want to partner with you as an employer to discover themselves. So your data must be deep enough to understand where they're going to and where they're coming from. So if you have that understanding, that partnership becomes more viable. And that partnership is not so much about big profits. It's about innovation and business growth. And innovation also benefits both parties. So there must the employee analytics data enables you to begin to forge much more sustainable partnership with the employee beyond just longevity. It's not just about longevity. It's building ecosystems of growth, such that the employee, from your wide experience that you still have a very fantastic relationship with people who have worked with you and left, either as partners or as ideas sharing people. So it's about building ecosystems. It's not just about being my employee. We need to begin to look at that value. That's what I'm talking about.
So how does one? So there are two elements to this now. One is how is it that all of this data that we collect? First, there's a lot of data, like you said, harness all of that data. How can it help improve employee productivity, and how can it improve firm productivity? So at an individual level, what can be done? And then at the organization level, what can be done?
Okay, clearly, when I work with my teams, because I have this data, it enables me to understand their frame of mind, different from just the organizational frame of mind. The organizational frame of mind is that as an employee, you come to work, face your job, and once it's time to go, you go home. But I'm able to understand the employee frame of mind. And like I said earlier, the greatest challenge in building an organization is the human mind is still a black box. You just can only try to understand how human beings are. But the more you try to understand it, the more you're able to, like I said, wealth is not just about the bottom level, also adding value to the life of the person so that it can become part of the ecosystem growth of the environment. So for us at an individual level, as a leader, when you have access to this data, I'll give you an example, Rajesh. Some years ago, we were working on a project, a corporate social responsibility initiative, which was we are working on sickle cell project, and we struggled with it for 1 or 2 years. Within the organization, we didn't know that there was a particular relatively junior staff who has lost about 2 or 3 people to sickle cell. And when we got him involved in that project, the project took a new turn. You can understand. The project took a new life. He was fulfilled. He was able to make a lot of impact, and he was able to help the institution attract funds. Funds. When you mean in a bank, what it means to attract funds. On account of our footprints in the area of sickle cell, we're able to attract international funding to show that we have committed a lot of energies and resources in this area. So even international agencies are beginning to open accounts with us. So at an individual level, it helps to drive the self-fulfillment of the employee, and and also motivate him, become a lot more useful to the organization. But at an enterprise level, of course, it's just simply to scale it. If you bring all of these kind of values, like I give an example of understanding the middle sense in the organization, understanding you have people, even the kind of initiatives we do. I'll give you an example. We go for marketing calls. I have given an instruction within the organization. If you're going to a marketing call to a marketing communications company, I should be on that team. I should be on that team. So in terms of doing business, it will enhance cross-functional collaboration in terms of supporting each other to achieve a lot more, because you'll be deliberate about bringing the right people into certain teams, even when it is not their original space. They can add value to those areas. So in terms of looking for business, you're able to bring in your first 11 at all times, regardless of their units or their departments, because you have insight in those data to know that there's somebody in one state out there, though he's not doing this job, but because if I look at his history, he was in the same secondary school with the person we're going to meet. Right. Can we get him on this team? Probably. I mean, marketing is emotional. First of all, if we can share those kind of emotional background, it will make a lot more impact than. So that's basically at the enterprise level. Yes.
Endy, how do you collect all of this data? I mean, employees would also be worried about some privacy issues in this case. So how do you go about collecting all of this data? Some of it is standard information which employees fill out when they are joining a company, but that's the static information. The dynamic information on an ongoing basis, how do you do that? Do you get surveys done? Do you ask employees to take sort of psychometric tests? What do you do?
No. The point again is that Rajesh, in my country, 80% of this data is already available in the organizations. And then I also recognize this is already available. When you are filling I don't know how it is in your country, my country, this data is available already as you're filling your form to be an employee. They're already there. I mean, that doesn't also stop you from recognizing the privacy and data protection laws, what you call the NDPR in Nigeria. They are very clear. You can always get these things. And I can tell you that the employee is excited sharing this. These are not too much of intimate data. They'll be very happy to share it. Is it academic history? Is it club affiliation? Is it social groups? Is it hobby? They are going to be willing to share. Where did you grow up? Even when you look at it, the data is already available. It's just for us to employ analytics, to be able to analyze this data and bring value to it. I particularly do it when we are onboarding new employees. I do this kind of project with them, and the excitement is massive. I'm able to analyze the predominance. There was once I did a research like this with the new employees. I discovered that 60% of the class say they want to be entrepreneurs. And when I made this data available to the organization, they were marveled because that data speaks volumes. The employees you have want to be entrepreneurs. So these are kind of data. The quality of decision making is will better enhanced. The data issues are quite an evolving issue, but we need to accelerate the level of interest we show in harnessing employee data, not just for the organization, but also for the employee, because the employee will be excited to get somebody telling you this is what it is, this is what we think about you, this is what kind of investment. You send people on training they don't need because of their position. Sometimes,
I think what's very interesting also is that, when I talk about velvet rope marketing, I use this phrase, customer genome. And then we can match customer genomes. The same thing perhaps can be applied even for employees. So when a new employee joins, you can actually figure out another employee who has perhaps spent longer time in the company, but is very similar to the new employee. So you can match the genomes, and maybe you can even create a mentoring relationship for the new employee, because many times new employees, basically when they join, the first 3 months or so are difficult. They are learning new things. They are getting to know different people. But if they can get a mentor who's been through the same journey like them, perhaps that can help them, right?
Yes, it can help. In fact, one of the things I also suggest is the reverse mentoring models also, or even the cross-generational mentoring, wherein the millennials and the X, come in close contact and support the seniors, while the seniors also support them. So because you see a lot of second guessing and mutual suspicion between generations in most workplaces. So it also helps us to build a lot more cross-generational harmony. These are some of the benefits. It's a whole lot of interesting. You see, Rajesh, there hasn't been much done in this area, and I don't know so much, but I know there's something to be done in this area. Institutions need to, especially institutions that have medium to large, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. They need to look more into the data they have.
Yes.
I think that is very important.
No, I think it's an excellent point. I think what you're describing actually is a very new idea. I think that the way companies spend all of their time looking at customers, if they can start harnessing really the power and energy of their employees, and they can only do that by data analytics. So there's a lot of soft programs that companies run. I mean, even in Netcore, we have all of these group meetings and these games, etc. We play now once in a while because everyone's sort of online. But now you're saying that if we can bring in the element of data, looking at whatever information, which is today all locked up in forms. Everyone fills out the
Absolutely.
form.
Yeah, locked up in forms, correct.
But we don't even look at them after they join. Now, if you can actually look at those forms, start analyzing the information, I think then we have a very powerful foundation for building deeper connects with employees, harnessing them better.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
I think it's a very good. So one question for you, Endy. Why are companies not doing this? This seems such a powerful idea. What stops companies from doing this?
Yeah, I'm sure you know the change is the enemy of the normal. The point is that first of all, like I said, the digital transformation is still new. The conversation around digital transformation is still new. Like you know, we still have some Luddites around us who are hoping that the thing will change and reverse to the old times. You know, most organizations are still struggling with understanding. For them, digital transformation is still an IT thing. It's a technology thing. They don't see it as a total customer and employee experience thing. So they are unable to build. It is not a journey of awareness, leverage, impacts, and outcome. It's still a journey of how much you can use technology tools. And we see it every day, wherein in some institutions, the technologies are seen as the X factor, you know, of the organization. So it hasn't been mainstream because for the same reason that digital transformation is still struggling for proper understanding. People are still thinking that they can do without it. They're hoping that eventually it will reverse, and then they will go back to what they were doing before. So even when you acquire fantastic platforms and programs, when it is time to renew, people will not renew because those who are going to renew are still those who are analogs. They are digital immigrants of some sort. So the quality of leadership you have in most organizations are still the digital immigrants. They are still trying to understand technology. Some of them have built their careers without technology, without insight, data. So this is an interruption and it's not so confident. So it's actually an emerging field, which I'm sure that inevitably, I mean, the conversation is already going on. I have a project, like I said, I call Employee Marketplace. I've been on it for 2 years now. I'm trying to onboard 8,000 employee leaders in the next 2 years, essentially to begin to pay attention to how do you drive and relate with the new millennials to be able to drive innovation and business growth. These are components. Digital transformation in the era of the millennials is also part of it. So little conversations like this will help, but obviously it's a reflection of the knowledge base in terms of technology transformation.
Right.
That's why it's quite challenged. Yeah.
In fact, I want to probe you a little bit on the work that you have done with a better understanding of millennial employees.
Yes.
You mentioned a couple of their characteristics earlier, that what they are looking to is through the organization, actually
Absolutely.
Discover themselves.
Yes.
And second is sort of they are looking for a partnership with organizations to make this happen.
Absolutely.
What are one or two other learnings that you have got from working with millennials?
It's a lot. You know, I call the millennials, that's what I call, there's an acronym I use for the millennials. I call it Selfie. Selfie means, what do you call it? Self means self-confident, entitled, learning, freedom, independence, and empowerment. You know, they seek the millennials. These millennials are quite from my interaction with them. Like I said in the Selfie, they are a bit impatient. They are quite impatient because in their own era, individuals have become big brands. You know, it's not just companies that are big brands. So the cycle of deferred gratification is quite difficult. They don't understand that you have to wait. You know, you have to build and wait, because they have examples of those who become billionaires in 2 or 3 weeks, either as innovators or as entertainers. So they're influenced by those kind of factors. They also feel entitled again because of technology. You know, what the globalization has brought to us. They can see themselves, they tweet and influence the world. So they feel that they're entitled. They're a bit impatient. They are quite impatient. You know, they are quite impatient. They don't think that why not happen now? But in fairness, I also say that they need to upgrade the level of emotional intelligence, and I say it with some level of respect. I mean, not that they are because they are products of a generation that economic scarcity, failed leadership, seemingly failed parenting sometimes. The key to driving a successful organization is building a lot more collaboration, cross-generational collaboration between the workplace employees, whether it is Generation X, whether it's Generation the baby boomers, whether it is Generation Y. Interestingly, you have an area where about 3 generations are in the workplace. You need to be able to be intentional about how to build collaboration, because what you see is that there's mutual suspicion. Everybody's name calling, and it eventually brings a lot of friction. Any institution that does not bring millennials to the decision-making table is going to fail, because they have a lot of ideas, in fairness. And like I said, they are products, beneficiaries and victims of technology. So what it means is that, technology is the only disruption that we know now. So, and they are the ones that were born into it. They are the post-click generation. So you need to bring them to the decision-making table to harness all their energies and their failings. They have their challenges, but where an institution is very deliberate about building that level of cross-generational collaboration, it enables them to come to, don't use the traditional decision-making model will not work. You need to be a lot more distributed. You need to be intentional about bringing them on. If you apply your employee analytics well, you will know their strengths and weaknesses. And when they're excited, they put in everything. That's the good thing. They're putting everything. They may not be missionary employees like we had before, who work to wait for salary and pension. They don't have that time, but they are quite, they explore a lot. And once they are there, they put in so much energy. And I always advise people, when you're dealing with millennials, it's not about longevity. It's not so much about longevity. It's about innovation and business growth. You need to inspire them to be very innovative, create an environment, a platform that enables them to put in their best, because they want to rule the world. They didn't come just to, they want to rule the world, and they believe they can rule the world wherever they are. So once you have that understanding with them that this is a platform to discover yourself, I'm going to partner with you in this journey of discovery, wherein we have you getting the best of yourself and also achieving the organizational benefit of innovation and growth. So it's not a sole vision of an astrologer.
No, I think this is very powerful what you've said. I think it's a great takeaway for every organization. I think every pretty much new employee that most people are hiring today are millennials. And rather than making it a conflict type situation, I think it's a great partnership which can be built and which will have very rich rewards for the organization. I want to make sure I got the Selfie full acronym right. It's a beautiful one which you came up with. Can you just walk me through step by step?
Well,
S is for...
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Endy, go ahead.
Okay. So what was it? I talked about Selfie. Selfie is self-confidence. Selfie is self-confidence. The E is entitled. The L is leadership as in leading. The F is freedom, independence, and empowered. Very
good. Fantastic. I think this is a very powerful takeaway for me, definitely.
Thank you.
Fantastic inputs, Endy. I think both on the employee analytics part, last bit, what you spoke about millennials, I think excellent takeaways, very powerful words on how companies should work with the millennials. We come to the last section of our conversation, which is what I call the 5 1s. Sort of quickish answers. One future technology or trend that excites you.
I'm actually excited about, I was reading, I think I was reading last year, I was reading the 4th Industrial Revolution by the founder of WEF. That's Klaus, I think it was Klaus Schwab. I am excited about the efforts being made in terms of things like affective computing, trying to bring a lot of it, understand the emotional data. It's going to be one of the greatest game-changing revelations in the world, because I know that already AI is being used to, even by creative people, to do even editorials. I'm fascinated about how much impact the man-machine process will achieve, especially in supporting the liberal arts the creative space, because the truth of the matter is that efforts in that area will help deepen the level of the quality of thinking, rather than a lot of things are quite repetitive. You see it in organizations. So I'm fascinated about the efforts, and I'm also afraid of the risk that might come out of it, because I know that sometimes some of these things can create a lot of risk because of the institutional impact it might have. The role of robots and all that, it could be quite, it's a garbage. Once the data, there's an error in the data, it could create a lot of problem. But quite interestingly, I'm fascinated about areas about trying to, help how the AIs and machine learning is helped to interpret, emotional footprints, and apply it to both individuals and organizations, even for quality of leadership and decision making. I'm also fascinated about e-government, how much data you can imagine. Automating our electoral system. That would be great. Inevitably, it will happen, and when it does, it will also change the world. You understand what I'm talking about in emerging markets where elections are war. So
absolutely.
So clearly, I am fascinated about those kind of. I'm looking forward to see how much we can achieve with data in terms of getting a proper understanding of behavior, or how we can improve the quality of decision making. I know that some institutions have what they call, there have been efforts in, I think it's quantitative intelligence. I have done some research in quantitative intelligence where you make decisions with incomplete data, and come up with some level of precision. So I'm excited about such. That's one area I'm really looking forward to.
Okay, one technology or trend that has disappointed you.
Rajesh, I wouldn't really say disappointing, because every innovation goes with a lot of iteration, failing forward. So the failure is part of the growth. So what you do not achieve today, you will achieve tomorrow. What really worries me is institutions must be able to invest in the capacity of the people who drive technology. Institutions, I've seen organizations that invest billions, so much money, billions of dollars on technology, not investing in human beings. And of course it fails. You also know that currently 70 to 80% of technology transformations fail. Why do they fail? Because of employee adoption or the human resource adoption. So I'm really concerned about institutions that invest in technology, that throw money about technology without understanding the role of the employee, the human beings that are going to drive that. It's a journey that starts with the human being and ends with the human being. So I am really challenged in those areas. I want leaders to begin to pay a lot more attention about the 360 degrees role of technology investments, especially in the era of digital transformation, where a lot of things are being thrown at you. Everything looks very sexy and nice.
Excellent. Very good answer. Very good inputs on that. One good book recommendation for our viewers and readers and listeners.
Ooh, book. There are so many of them. I don't know which one that's, but I know that I read. Oh my God! I mean, it's about book recommendation. Of course, will reflect my own personal data. As a student of marketing technology and marketing communications, I am always fascinated about the coming together of neuromarketing, technology marketing, and social marketing. So one of the authors that has made a lot of impact from the side of neuromarketing and Martin Lindstrom. The young man is a great guy. I mean, I think the last book he wrote was Biology for a Coronavirus World. He has also had a book called Biology. The biology, he discusses BUYOLOGY. The buying and selling, the interrogation of the mind, understanding the mind towards the buying and selling is a great book for anybody to read. I think one of the books I'm also reading now, which I think anybody who is interested in the trends of the workplace should look at, is the the 2020 workplace. The 2020 workplace, I think it was all taught by two, I think Jain and Carey or whatever. I can't remember the names of the authors, but it's a 2020 workplace. It's another great book. I always read. I'm currently reading, but I also binge a lot on journals. I read a lot of Harvard Business Review, the MIT journals, and so I don't know how much I can recommend, but clearly, these are books I think in recent times. Even the Fourth Industrial Revolution gives you a summary about 25, trends that anybody should watch. And it's interestingly, it was written by the man himself, the World Economic Forum founder, who was in the middle of this whole thing. It's a book anybody should lay their hands on. It gives you a summary of the global trends and the trends, that will likely influence the world in the few years to come. So these are some of the things I could really...
Very helpful. One good person or podcast whom people can follow?
Podcast people... I think in recent times, Scott is this Scott Brinker? What is this Scott? He's a great guy. He's actually the one that has influenced my doctorate interest in marketing technology. He's a great guy. I like the pioneering role he played in the area of marketing technology, and of course, we are all in the same ecosystem, even Netcore. So I think he's one guy that has. I see him, I will tell him he's a great guy. He's done quite well. It's important. I'm impressed because he's driving it from his core background is technology and software, but he's been able to bring some value in validating that marketing and technology cannot be separated in the modern era. I think it's a great guy. I followed both in audio and text, and I listen to many leaders. But that's in recent time. Is one guy I am fascinated about his level of input in development of that particular area of knowledge and practice.
No, very right. In fact, I still remember my whole introduction to MarTech came by attending Scott Brinker's first MarTech event in August of 2014.
Oh, really?
That was early.
Really, that's a long journey. 2014. I got to know about him just about a year plus now, and since then,
very good.
He's a great guy. You guys are doing well.
And finally, last question for you is one key driving belief in your personal life, in your life.
Fortunately, unfortunately, I grew up with old people also. My dad lived to be 90. So I understand a lot of, I believe in values really. And one of the values is deferred gratification, like I talked about. I believe so much in, you just work hard, express yourself, regardless of what's happening out there. Don't be distracted looking through the window. Be yourself, and the reward will come. It may not come the way you think, but deferred gratification is something I suggest to both the millennials and even the older pre-millennial generation. It's something we need to take very, very seriously, because if everybody is running at the speed we want to run, sometimes nobody will be left. It will be a lot of crisis. So deferred gratification is one of the things I always encourage leaders and of course young people to, because when you are working for passion and purpose, then it clearly comes ahead of profit. Profit will inevitably come when you're working for passion and purpose, rather than when you're working from profit from the one. Most times we mount it, but we don't really live it. But it's important that people realize that their life is a journey. It's a journey. So I believe so much in deferred gratification.
Beautiful words, Endy, and thank you very much. It was wonderful conversing with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And friends, that was our MartechBrain with Endy, with the Polaris Bank in Nigeria. MartechBrain is a Netcore initiative, and we'll be back with a new episode next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.